and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren if you're new here, and if you're not new here, thank you. Thank you for coming. If you haven't yet already, please subscribe. I am planning on doing a ton of makeup videos. It's what I want to do. Love makeup. I want to talk about it. I want to show off my collection. So when I saw this tag pop up on YouTube, I thought, hey, that's kind of a perfect opportunity for you to get to know me a little more and to get to know my preferences, especially when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. So what this video is going to be is the Eyeshadow Palette Tag Part 2. So this tag was created by Samantha March and Allie Glines, and they're creators here on YouTube, and they also did a Part 1. And I just thought it was a fantastic way to kind of get to know me better and, you know, what I've been loving over the past year. And yeah, I'm just gonna go through these, and I would love to know if any of these are your favorites too, and what palettes you've been loving lately. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first question we have is, what is your all-time favorite palette? And even though this is a newer palette, I know it is hands down my favorite because it is a palette of purples, and I love purples. I think purple is probably my favorite color to play with. It really makes my eyes pop. It's just fun. It makes me happy. So my current favorite is the ABH Norvina Volume 5 palette. And look how beautiful this palette is. Oh my gosh. The purples are amazing. I feel like everything performs really, really well. There are a couple glitter shades, I believe. I think D2 over here is a glitter shade. So I kind of stay away from that one, but everything else is just absolutely lovely. I love playing with this palette. It's just a good time. So yeah, that is my current favorite. Question 2, what is a new favorite? And I think my newest favorite that I discovered last year was the Natasha Denona Glam palette. And this palette is just easy to use. Again, you're dealing with some eyeshadows that perform beautifully, and every time I do a different look with this palette, I love it. It always turns out great. It's another palette that just really makes me happy. Natasha Denona has an amazing formula, and you can't go wrong with this palette. Like, it's just awesome. Question 3, what is a palette you keep for the memories? Don't laugh at me, okay? But this is the Hip.X SpongeBob palette. Now, Hip.X is notorious for collabing, and I think over the past couple years, their formula has changed a little, so it's not quite up to the standard of the SpongeBob palette. Look, okay, look, the formula on this is great. The shimmers apply beautifully. It's just a good palette, and the reason why I have such great memories with this one is because when I first started dating my husband, before he was my husband, I took a family trip to Hawaii, and I just remember just being in this great headspace, like having a great time with my family, texting my husband on the side, and just, I don't know, getting a lot of use and love out of this palette. So keeping it for the memories, even though it's a little ridiculous, it's good. It's a good palette, okay? Don't judge me. I promise you that this is a good palette. The question is, what do you think is the most underrated palette? And for me, it was the Venom palette from BH Cosmetics. And there was a whole series that came out along with this one, and it came out around, I think, Halloween of last year. And maybe because it was smack in the middle of a couple different collections, this one got lost. I didn't see anyone review it. I didn't see anyone mention it at all. And this color story is, well, it doesn't look that exciting. It's amazing. The payoff that you get with these shimmers are out of this world. Everything performs amazingly. I have so much love for this palette, and it really bums me out that, you know, BH Cosmetics has now announced they're filing for bankruptcy, and I'm hoping that they can recover. I am, because their formula is great. This palette is great. The whole collection is great. This is my favorite out of the collection, but I mean, if you can still get your hands on these, I highly suggest it. Last time I checked, I think they were available on Beauty Bay if you want to look, but I think I got these for like $9 each. They're great. I highly, highly recommend them. Next is not a fave, but can't get rid of. And this is actually what I have on my eyes today. So this is Give Me Glow's Vintage Rose palette. This is, if you're into indies, a pretty OG palette. Gimme Glow came out with this and everyone was shocked and blown away by how beautiful all the colors perform. So not just the shimmers, but the mattes are great too. And the reason I picked this one is because I don't really reach for it very often. It's gorgeous, I love the colors, but again, I have a massive collection, so this kind of gets lost in it. So a couple times I've thought, do I want to keep it? Do I need to keep it? Should I give it to someone that might get more use out of it? And then like today I pulled it out, I put it on my eyes, and I'm like, oh no, I'm keeping you. Like, I love you, you're great, I can't get rid of you. So, you know, maybe in the next declutter, we'll see how much more use I've gotten out of this, but I'm keeping it. It's not a favorite, but it's really good. And Gimme Glow in general has amazing, amazing eyeshadows. So I have quite a few palettes from them. This isn't my favorite palette from them, but it's just great. I love it. So the next question is Fave Collab. And this one was really hard for me because there were a couple collabs that I really enjoyed, but I wouldn't call them, you know, my favorites. So I think the one that I chose, it might have been cheating a little bit. It technically is a collab with an intellectual property. So this is the Sigma and Cinderella collaboration. I guess you would say it was a Disney collaboration with Sigma. And I really enjoyed this one. You know, I'm not gonna lie though, the first time I used it, had a little bit of trouble. You know, the glitters, there was quite a bit of fallout, and my face was just glitter central. And no one wants to go out in public with, you know, glitter all under your under eyes. It's just not a look. It's not a look I was going for, at least. But I even have the insert still. But I kind of played around with it a little bit more. And for me, the key for making these work is that I sprayed my brush down with MAC's Fix Plus before going into the glitters, and I really think that made a world of difference. And yeah, so it's kind of become one of my favorites. Next is my 2021 favorite, and this one was hard. There was a lot of great palettes that came out in 2021, and even now I'm looking at it and I'm like, is this my favorite? There were so many, but this is definitely one that I find myself continuing to reach into and picking up out of my huge collection, so that's why I picked it. And this is the Be Perfect Cosmetics Manifest palette, or Manifest Dream Big. I'm just gonna call it the Manifest palette. And Be Perfect is a brand out of the UK. Again, you can get this off of Beauty Bay. Clearly I shop at Beauty Bay a little too much, but this is what it looks like. And the reason I chose this one is not just because of the color variety, but because of the consistency variety too. So some of these are like shimmers, just straight up shimmers. Some of these are more of a like a smushy shadow. I don't even know what to call that. Let's see if they say on the back what they call these. Matte shades, stunning shimmers, cream shadows, shimmer cream shadows, shimmer gloss shadows. So you have all these different variety of types of shadows in here too. And it just makes it something fun to play with. And I thought that was just a clever idea. And I do really like these colors. I think Be Perfect has a great formula as well. And yeah, I really enjoy this palette and I got a lot of use out of it in 2021. And I'm definitely going to continue to use it throughout 2022. Okay, so next is what is a palette that you didn't expect to love? And this is an older palette. I don't believe you can get it anymore, but I didn't really use it very much when I first got it. I started using it a lot last year and was blown away by how much I loved it. And that is the Pat McGrath Labs Platinum Bronze palette. So it's one of her smaller 6-pan palettes, and I picked this up on some sort of like mega sale. I don't remember how much exactly I paid for it, but it kind of just sat in my drawer for a long time. I was not using it. I thought it was kind of boring, and when you see the color story, you'll understand why I'm saying boring. There's no color. It's just very, very neutral, and it's amazing. So everyone talks so highly about Pat McGrath's formula, and I didn't really know if I believed the hype. You know, so I have a couple of her bigger palettes as well, and I don't think they perform as well as this little 6-pan. This 6-pan is amazing. every time I use it, I am blown away by how my eyeshadow looks. It just is a beautiful formula. The colors are pigmented. The shimmers are great. I am 100% in love with this little palette. Next question is, what is a palette that sparks joy? Now, this is another palette that I didn't hear very much about from anyone, which really surprised me. And this is Love Luxe Beauty's Pretty Powerful palette. And it is a gorgeous palette. Let me show you. Ooh, this is what it looks like. Isn't that gorgeous? You do have to be very careful, as you can see. Some of it got all over my hands already. It's a very delicate palette. These colors are just very fragile, which I find is pretty common for Love Luxe Beauty's formula. And I don't care because they're worth it. Like, this color story is beautiful. It definitely is what I would consider a rainbow palette. So every once in a while I have to bring a different palette in, but I have just gotten so much joy out of using this palette over the past couple months. And again, this is a palette kind of similar to the Cinderella palette where I needed to play with the formula to really understand the best way to use it. And again, like the Cinderella palette, I found wetting my brush prior to going into the shimmer colors just made them pop way more, just made the experience so much better. I didn't really experience fallout, even though you can see it's all over my fingers. But there wasn't a lot of fallout on the face. I always use an eyeshadow primer, so I think that helps. But it is a fun palette. It's a beautiful palette. It performs well, and yeah, I think it was completely underrated in 2021. Okay, so we only have a couple more questions. And the next one is, what is the newest palette in your collection? And this one just arrived a couple days ago, and I haven't even gotten a chance to use it yet. So this is another Pat McGrath palette, and this is the Bridgerton collection. So this is what the outside packaging looks like. It's very pretty. And then this is what the inside looks like. And there are a ton of reviews out right now about this palette. So if you're curious about it, I would definitely just plug it into the search bar on YouTube and you're gonna find a bunch. I was planning on doing a review about it. We'll see. I haven't played with it yet. I'm excited to get into it. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it yet, but I'm excited to try it out. The whole collection that she came out with in collaboration with Bridgerton, I thought was really pretty. So I did snap a few other things up from this collection. So I plan on using those, I think, in a future video and kind of like a get ready with me trying out new products. And yeah, maybe I'll include this one too. Let me know if you want to see a review on this one. Last but not least, we have the question, what was the first palette you used in 2022? And it's like the end of January and I don't even remember. But I'm pretty sure the first palette I used this year was ColourPop's Stone Cold Fox. And why I think I used it is because I use this palette all the time. This is another one that is pretty basic, but it's just amazing. I think this is one of ColourPop's best formulas. I think they save that formula for the big palettes, and that's why I have all the big palettes because I love it. But if I'm looking for maybe a more neutral look for the day, I'll go for this one. Or if I need to bring a brown into maybe, you know, like the Love Luxe palette, how it's all pretty rainbows. But if I need a more neutral matte, I will go to this palette and I'll bring it in. And I love it. It's a great palette. And yeah, I always enjoy it. I think it was a great way to start 2022. Okay, so that was the eyeshadow palette tag part 2. I had so much fun going over some of my favorite palettes, and I would love to hear from you. Let me know if you have used any of these and you love them, or if you're interested in maybe seeing a demo with them. Yeah, I love it. I love to get my fingers in my shadows, which is weird. I like to touch them, okay? Yeah, so thank you again for joining me today. Please consider subscribing, liking, commenting below. I would love to hear your opinions as my channel is first starting out. I'm not really sure the direction it's going to go in, so if there's anything you'd want to see, like, just drop it in the comments, let me know. I'd love to hear from you, and yeah, I will see you soon. Bye!